So everybody heard about the story of the petrified giants inside of the Bible, right? I think I just might have came across something that y'all might find very interesting. So all over the world, people have been finding these strange, mysterious crystals that resemble and look like tissue and muscle. See, as you can see right here, this is the crystal. This is like a steak or something. Another one, This is another one looking like layers of fat, muscle, and tissue. Once again, another one. Y'all can't tell me this doesn't look like muscle and tissue. They even made furniture out of it. And see, now what we was just looking at was a crystal that was called rhodonite, which is a manganese silicate. And see, now the craziest part is you can find manganese inside of the body. Yes, stored inside of bones and small amounts inside the liver, brain, kidneys, and pancreas. And it also helps the body maintain stable tissue. Don't you guys just find that very interesting? Now I guess it is more to the mystery about the Nephilim and the giants that we know. Y'all let me know what y'all think about the giants and these strange flesh-like crystals found all over the world in the comments. Like and follow for more wisdom and stay tuned. Yeah, make sure y'all share this to somebody that does not know.
I think wisdom's onto something here. When you look at the juxtaposition of a lot of those crystals compared to meat, it's pretty close. When you look at the chemical compound, the different proteins and things that are found, I'd say at that point it's almost a foregone conclusion. I do think long ago everything started off bigger, much bigger, from trees to regular plants to animals, dinosaurs, and then eventually people. I think the flood wiped most, if not all of them out. And today we can see what little remains, even in regular people. I've known people that are, I'm over 6 feet tall, and I've known people that are a head, 2 heads taller than me. How is that not a giant? And if I saw one of those people, and I was living back in the Middle Ages, when the average height's 4 or 5 feet tall, that's double my size. That is a giant. I think there's proof that giants walk the earth today. They just aren't the 30-foot tall, expansive giants of ancient stories. I do think the flood wiped those giants out. I think that there's a lot more to the creation stories. Things like the world trees getting cut down so that the giants couldn't crawl up them to escape. And we'll take a look at some of those maybe in future videos, things like the Devil's Tower. I've also seen a lot of footage of mountainsides that are just too strikingly similar to whether it's a snake or a person. Between the two, those seem to be the popular ones. Some of them are just so very convincing, I have to say. I do think that he's onto something here. I think that there are petrified remnants of the old world for us to still see today, and the only reason we can still see them today is just because of how magnificent and how large they were. I also used to live in California, and I gotta tell you, the redwood trees are almost unfathomably large. The size of those things, and I mean, when you hear stories about trees out there as big as you could drive a school bus through, even those don't really do them justice. And those are trees that still exist today. It makes me wonder what could have existed so many years ago when there was so much more oxygen and carbon in the air. Just how big did things get in the past, including people?
Oh, fuck you. Fuck, man. Nothing here. Nothing the fuck here. Oh my god, oh my god, look, legit goosebumps. Oh my god. What the fuck is that?
It seems like the supernatural tends to really love to manifest around kids. Now that guy looked like he's done some time. He definitely looked a little hardened, and I think that just goes to show that, even big tough guys can get spooked right out of their skin when they see something that's not supposed to be there. And I think he may very well have seen something. It did kind of look, though, when he first shouts and then goes to get up, you can almost still see that figure in the curtains, and it makes me wonder if just from his angle he might have been just seeing a pronounced shadow. It might not have been anything at all. But still, I do find the video itself to be credible. I don't think that he was faking it. I would have liked to have seen any reaction of his kids, though. It seems like he just jumps up, throws them behind him, and runs around the room talking to his camera. And you would think that the kids would have woken up or would have reacted somehow, some way, to how their dad was reacting. I guess it's possible that he shoved them behind them and they just sat there and watched, or maybe even didn't wake up. My toddler certainly can sleep like a rock sometimes, so I wouldn't be surprised. Regardless of whether he saw anything or not, he certainly believed he did. And I do think that adds a lot of credibility to this video. What do you guys think? Did he actually see anything, or was it just a shadow on the wall? I think he may have saw something, but let me know how you feel in the comments below.
A billionaire friend of mine, who's a legitimate billionaire, told me that it's entirely possible that some of these guys are trillionaires. Some of these Middle Eastern guys. He's like, you've never seen wealth like this. It's insane. Do you know in the United Arab Emirates, they make it rain every week? Once a week, they make it rain.
I mean,
They seed the clouds.
Really?
They make it rain. Yeah, because they're in the desert. And they're like, I don't like this. I like it to rain. So they fucking put all that shit that they have to put into the sky to make it rain, which they've been doing forever, cloud seeding, but insanely expensive. But they do it once a week.
so
52 times a year it rains there.
Growing up in Ohio, I have witnessed cloud seeding and what we previously called chemtrails with my own eyes more times than I can count. For example, maybe 10, 15 years ago, I worked for a car dealership, and I spent all day out on that car lot, and I had nothing but sky all around me to look at. I'd come in some mornings, and it would be clear blue sky, not a cloud in sight. And I'd see planes flying back and forth, and then typically about midday, you start to see planes that fly that crisscross pattern. And behind them, their contrails are much different. They are definitely spraying something. And as the time goes by and you continue to watch, you can see as the contrail clouds start to expand. And I mean, they dissipate a little bit, so they're not quite as thick or as dense, but they start to expand. And then they overlap one of the crisscrossing planes. And by afternoon, just from watching the dissipation and expansion of all of those chemicals that they're spraying, we watch the sky go from clear blue to totally overcast. And I used to, curse at the sky every single day at work, because I would say, oh, there they are, they're taking away my blue sky again. And now this was 10, 15 years ago. 10 years before that, we noticed it the same. As kids growing up in the summers playing outside, and we watched as the planes flew through the sky spraying this stuff. It's been going on for, I would say, at least 30 years, maybe longer. It used to be a wild conspiracy theory, and then I remember the first time that I saw validation was in the Los Angeles newspaper. The Los Angeles newspaper was talking about specifically how they were going to launch a plan to start seeding the clouds and spraying the sky. Originally, it was pesticides to kill mosquitoes. Now, there was also a time when I lived in Tennessee. On the topic of pesticides to kill mosquitoes, we also had a big uproar, and now this was maybe 2012-ish, a big uproar where they were planning on spraying the skies to try to kill bugs and mosquitoes and everything, and nobody wanted pesticides dumped on them, right? I think that's pretty fair. So this cloud seeding started as chemtrails, as a huge conspiracy. You were so ridiculed, you were marginalized, you were put in a box next to Alex Jones, who was right about more than he wasn't, by the way. But you were marginalized if you believed in chemtrails. And now look at us. Cloud seeding is a totally admitted thing. Last decade's conspiracy is just this decade's business as usual. So I think the moral of the story here is listen to your conspiracy theorist friends, not the flat earth ones, because they are paying attention. They are seeing things that you aren't seeing, and I think before you ridicule them, it might be a good idea to actually give them the time of day and listen to what they're saying.
You know that joke in the Appalachian Mountains? If you hear your name,
No, you didn't. I have a theory. The Appalachian Mountains are known to be exceptionally creepy. So there's this interactive map on dinosaurpictures.org where you can enter your address and a time period to see what your area looked like during different stages of tectonic movement. Here's where I grew up, northern New Hampshire. Now, when the continents were all crammed together about 200 million years ago, and this was Pangaea, the Appalachian Mountains are there. And even before Pangaea, at about 400 million years ago, it's still there. Now let's go as far back as we can, 750 million years ago, before multi-celled organisms even appear. Boom! My town is there. The rest of the planet, by the way, is water. There are various points in time where this is kind of underwater, but let's just say for funskies that the Appalachians, which is this area kind of, are so creepy because there legitimately are things in this land that just never left. It's just a fun theory, people in the Appalachians love to have them, but what if they've seen things?
They've definitely seen things. So I grew up in Ohio on the border to Pennsylvania. My childhood was spent often exploring the Appalachian Mountains. My family had a hunting camp that was up in the mountains that we used to go and visit and spend the weekends. We'd go out there in the winter on snowmobiling trips or in the summers hunting or hiking. I remember by daytime, the hiking trails and the mountains around our camp were beautiful. But even so, there was this heaviness in the air. You always felt like there was something watching. And I certainly wouldn't dare go out and explore any of those areas on my own at night. Granted, I was much younger. As an adult going back, every time you're out in those woods, you feel like you're not alone. So I always make it a point to follow the rules and have a buddy. I love that she mentioned the rules of Appalachia, because those rules, they do extend into eastern Ohio a good bit. We find that we experience much of the same, being right at essentially the foot of the Appalachian Mountains. So the first rule she mentions, if you hear your name, no you didn't. Yeah, that's true. If you're out at night and you hear anything calling your name, no you didn't. Other rules, you don't whistle at night. That thing that whistles back, never a good thing. These rules exist for a reason. Yes, they're a little bit fun, but at the same time, there is a lot of creepy things in Appalachia. That's why you don't go hiking without a buddy. I think this video, she actually does a really good job of explaining just a little bit why the Appalachian Mountains are so very creepy. And it's because they have always been there. Through the glaciers, through various floods, the Appalachian Mountains have been there, especially at some of the higher peaks. Things that existed there back, long before the days of Adam, there is a good chance that some of that stuff is still lurking, right? It's also a relatively undeveloped region. Yes, there are a lot of major cities that are up and down, but most of them are in the foothills. Once you actually get into the mountains, it's country. That Appalachian Mountain Trail also runs currently underwater, but I don't know, someone would have to maybe check if there was a period where portions of the now submerged mountain range were above water, because that range runs all the way into the Scottish Highlands. And the Scots, they've got a lot of old world magic there. They have a lot of the same superstitions, the same rules, and in fact Appalachia was primarily settled by Scottish immigrants. And it makes me wonder, it is the same people. It's the same mountain range. It's no surprise that they would have some of the same rituals, some of the same beliefs, some of the same superstitions, and of course some of the same creepy monsters or cryptids or spirits or mojo or whatever it is. There is something truly special about the Appalachian Mountains.
Within the boundary of Cuyahoga Valley National Park lies the site of the abandoned mill town of Boston Village. Established in 1806, the town fell victim to an eminent domain claim to create the national park in 1974. The village was associated with Boston Mills and its once thriving paper mill, but in the years since has come to be known as Helltown, and there are some truly wild stories that have come out of it. Here are just a few of them. First, there's the Peninsula Python, a giant mutant snake that's thought to roam the woods. Stories of this and other mutated animals, and people, sprang up after it was discovered that the nearby Krejci dump was contaminated with toxic chemicals. Restoration of the former dump wasn't finished until 2015, and people in the area still celebrate Python Day. Of course, no abandoned town would be complete without rumors of a group of murderous Satanists. In this case, those rumors are fueled by the presence of upside-down crosses on the Mother of Sorrows church, which are actually just part of its decorative trim. It's claimed, though, that these Satanists still wander the back roads looking for new recruits or their next victim. Finally, there's Stanford Road, which is one of the main roads leading to Helltown. Many have taken to calling it the end of the world road. Beyond the ominous road closed sign is a twisty, dangerous drive, with steep inclines that can make it appear as if your car is about to drive off of a cliff. Or its name may come from the fact that it comes to a sudden stop. Either way, people say that the road itself is evil, and that it can take possession of people's vehicles, causing fatal accidents. The vacant buildings in Boston Village were completely demolished in 2016, and the multitude of strange tales associated with it have largely been debunked, but the town's spooky legacy still persists.
I've spent a fair amount of time in Helltown. As a high school, post-high school, teen, young adult, I used to go camping out there. And I gotta tell you, the place is, there's something about it. It's definitely an ominous place. You get Silent Hill vibes while you're there. Goosebumps the whole time. You feel like there's something looking over your shoulder. Now, we never really did see anything particularly outstanding exploring Helltown itself, and this was long before it was demolished, back when it was still standing and pretty decrepit. We did get a lot of orbs in the church. We didn't catch any, apparitions or anything, but a lot of the rooms were just full of those various orbs that you get. I don't really think you can say much about them, or I don't even really give them too much thought, other than, if you're in an old, supposedly haunted place, the first thing you tend to see are orbs. Helltown did have a way with electronic devices. It wasn't an everyday issue, but there were times where you would be there recording and your cameras just die. Now, when I was there, we didn't have the smartphones that we do now. I mean, we did, but they weren't quite as good. So we actually used camcorders and handheld recording devices. That was their only purpose. We also used audio capturing devices, and they would have battery issues too. You put a fresh pack of batteries in, and then they die 5 minutes in. One particular experience in Helltown that has stuck with me, it was not really as much as it was something I experienced, but it was something that one of my friends there had experienced. Now, I hung out with a much older crowd, and we had gone camping out there. One of the guys in our group, big guy, he was a biker, not somebody you'd want to pick a fight with, you know what I mean? He had just gone out to get some firewood. We had just got there, the sun had set, and we were in the process of setting up our camp. He went out to collect some firewood, and he had come running back to the camp. I mean, you had never seen so much terror in somebody's eyes before. He wouldn't say a word to anyone. He ran through the camp, grabbed his gear, got in his truck. No, he didn't have his bike with him. Biker that he was. He got in his truck, and he took off. And the rest of us, being, much younger, and he was, I would say, the most intimidating of our group, naturally, we were all terrified as well. So everybody got up and left. And when we met up with him after, and he told us that while he was out there, he had been over to pick up some wood, and when he stood up, there was something standing almost face to face with him. And he couldn't make out much of its features. He said it seemed like a giant dog, but that it had giant glowing red eyes. And he said as soon as he saw that thing, he was out. He was gone. Now, this is, his account. How much can I trust it? I don't know. But I can definitely say that his terror was real, especially in leaving the place. We were getting set up for a weekend there and didn't even make it but a few hours, right? So regardless of maybe what he saw or what he thinks he saw, he was scared enough to leave. We took the hint and followed. I do think that there is something out there. I've heard rumors of maybe a portal to hell. I don't know. I've heard rumors of, mutated things. You get all kinds of stories from the locals around there. But I do think that there's something out there. And, that was the last time I ever went back. So I haven't been back since they've demolished it. But generally when you destroy things, whatever called it home before you destroyed it tends to get irritated. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are some stories, beyond 2016 from that place. It'd be worth checking out. Perhaps I'll look into it for a future video. If that's something you'd like to see, just let me know in the comments. Alright, that's the end of our second video. If you enjoyed what you saw, remember to hit the like and subscribe button, as that'll let me know to keep making these. And please leave a comment if there's any specific video you'd like me to review or any certain topic you'd like me to cover. Thanks for watching.